elections have come, but they have not gone. That's the irony of this latest election. This is one of the elections that we have experienced in which the winners could not celebrate because they didn't win anything. The losers are, of course, unhappy because they also didn't win anything. But the biggest losers in this election, as usual, are the Nigerian people who have once again been deprived of an opportunity to choose their leaders legitimately and legally. And I'm here to tell you that as a participant in that election, this election was not different from the one I participated in 2019. I would say this one is even worse. But what is the irony of it was that in 2019, I was told that because I didn't get a huge number of votes, I have no right to complain. Interestingly, today, those who were saying that at that time have also now come to taste what we went through in 2019. And since 2019, we are not here to mock anybody, and I will encourage all our followers never to mock anybody. We are here to discuss real socio-political issues confronting our country. As you also must have noticed, since morning, in fact, I think since last night, the word revolution, or revolution now has re-entered the lexicon of the Nigerian electoral system or national life. Because finally, what we saw in 2019 that led us to revolution now has now reached everybody. There's a whole change of consciousness, and we must thank all of you who always stood firmly out there, either offline and online, arguing in support of a system change that you should be proud of yourself. We're getting closer and closer every day. This particular election, by their own standards, did not meet any of the legal requirements. That says in particular that every election result must be scanned and uploaded to INEC server. But there's nothing new about it. Before the election, I have been talking on radio stations and TV stations. I went to the National Assembly. I went to rallies, town hall meetings, and said INEC wasn't ready for elections. They did not want to listen to us. They also demobilized voters with their very wicked Naira redesign policy and whatever monetary policy they introduced a few weeks to election. As we speak, our people are still queuing up in banks looking for the new Naira notes that don't exist. They lied that if the voters are deprived of their own money, that big politicians will not be able to buy votes. They particularly mentioned some big political parties who they claim their candidates won't be able to buy votes if you don't have money. But the result today is that the number of participants in this election is abysmal. Less than 30% of registered voters are voters who had in their possession the PVC did not vote. They weren't only interested in voting, they largely boycotted the voting centers and polling units across the country. This is what that monetary policy cost us. And we condemned it when it happened. The same way today, we categorically condemn the election that was held on the 25th as a fraudulent election that did not meet the standard of what should be called a free, fair, and credible election. We knew it. There's nothing surprising about it. We knew they weren't planning an election. We talked about it. We shouted ourselves hoarse that these criminals in our system have no interest whatsoever in organizing free and fair elections. And it has come to pass now that they didn't hold an election. What they did is a selection as they usually do. They have just given you the candidate of the choice of the criminal political elites in Nigeria. He is the candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was given a certificate of return a few hours ago, here in Abuja, in an election in which he could not tell anybody that he won. So that's our position, that this wasn't an election. And that was our position in 2019. And we will stand by it. And we call on Nigerians across the world to reject a fraudulent election that imposes upon them a leader that they did not elect. What that means is that any figures, either for me or against me, or for them or against them, that you saw in this election were concocted and manufactured fraudulently. So don't fall for the gimmicks of the ruling class who says to you, oh, maybe you won somewhere, should be fine. No, you cannot win or lose in an event that did not happen, that is called an election. So that is the basis for coming here today. But it's also a stark reminder that what we have consistently told you over these years, especially since 2018 when we started participating in partisan politics, that led to forming the African Action Congress. Those of you who didn't see it then have seen it now. Those of you who didn't believe us in 2019 that they no longer organize elections, you have seen it now, that the only thing that happens in Nigeria during election is selection. Those of you who spent time deriding us, talking down on us, and mocking us throughout this electoral period, we hate to say, because there's nothing to mock anybody about, that you now have seen, welcome to the Nigeria that we've been experiencing in the last 4 years in particular. And welcome to Nigeria that I have experienced for 30 years, a country made up of fraudulent leaders who will do anything whatsoever to retain power. And we've always told you that these old men in power don't have any plans to seek power, and that the kind of power they control is the kind of power that has no reverse gear. No reverse gear until it meets superior power. So this is where we stand as far as the election is concerned. But it's important to remind you that our political party had already made all this clear in advance, because we didn't want to engage in any kind of psychophancy of the system. In fact, in some of the meetings we had with INEC, when we would say this, those who are now directly complaining were applauding INEC at such meetings. I recorded one of those and uploaded to all of you to listen. But I'm not here today to say I told you so. That's not the issue. The way and the reason, the way forward is for Nigerians to think progressively and revolutionarily, as they're doing now, and to understand that elections by themselves alone will not give you the country you want. You can abide by it, the election timetable, as long as you want, but they are not going to allow you be in charge of your country, because you being in charge of the country means that they will be out of the country. You being in charge of your country will mean wealth redistribution. They don't want you, the greedy ones don't want you to redistribute wealth. You being in charge of your country means you'll be able to send your children to school. You'll be able to find jobs. They don't want you to have jobs. It means you'll be able to get medical care. They don't want you to have medical care. They want all of you to be dependent on them so that they can tell you what they want and make you do what they want and what you don't want. That is Nigeria that we are in today. And I've come to explain to you that nobody should at this time be sulking. There's no time for it. We have no time. What all of us should do is to join hands together to fight an evil system that oppresses all of us, that subjugates all of us, that punishes all of us, that deprives us of our rights to choose our leaders, to live in economic freedom, and to attain progress, and to attain, the real potentials that we should have as human beings and as citizens of the country called Nigeria. No time to sulk. And I have heard from a lot of you since morning that I should just go and fight for my passports and leave Nigeria for them. That Nigerians don't care about themselves. But the truth is that, where do I live to? I have to leave Nigeria to another man's country, and the country that other people fought for, to accommodate people like me. Doesn't make sense. I am not a coward, and I do not intend to become a coward because I lost an election that did not happen. No, we will always stay here and fight until we attain total liberation. What has happened? A political earthquake did hit Nigeria, and all of us should be afraid for the future if we don't do something immediately. So I urge Nigerians to keep coming together. Let's be having serious conversation. Let's hold meetings. Let's organize, don't agonize, and let's do that which is necessary. A revolution is necessary. There's no doubt about it. You are not hearing it from me for the first time. It's what I've always said, it's what I've believed in. And when people ask me during the election why I'm participating in the election, it's exactly what I predicted, that the idea of having a revolution is not enough for the majority until they taste the raw nature of wicked power. And I welcome you to the battlefield of the new struggle for liberation. The election heist that's happened now is a renewal of hopelessness for a majority of our people. And we must stand up and fight it.